Bardell.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. Can I thank the Secretary of State for advance sight of its statement? Although it is disappointing the White Paper was delayed, I do want to commend the Secretary of State and the Home Secretary on very sensible and robust plans which we on these benches absolutely support. The devil will, however, be in the detail, and the extension of Ofcom or creation of a new regulator will have a very big and serious job on its hands. Can he give us reassurance that any regulator will be properly resourced and have the full weight of the law behind it? Because protection of vulnerable children is of particular concern to many of the stakeholders and schools in my Livingston constituency that I have spoken to. Mr Speaker, he makes some very important points around people closing their social media accounts because of abuse. The reality is online abuse has a disproportionate impact on women and girls who face sexism and misogyny and are readily silenced online. I'm sure he will be aware of the work of Caroline Criado Perez and her book on this issue. In a world designed for men, Mr Speaker, women and girls are being rendered invisible, and that cannot continue. And just because a regulator is appointed doesn't mean it's effective. The 2008 financial crash had to happen before the FCA started to effectively regulate. So any regulator, he says, will be paid for by the online companies. Can he say more about how that will be levied? He also mentions the Home Secretary will publish an interim code of practice. Can he give us a sense of when that will happen? Because that is, as we know, desperately needed. And I understand, and we understand, a balance needs to be struck with free speech. And of course the issue of terrorism, child abuse and paedophilia is something that tech companies seem to take a bit more seriously. But the everyday abuse of people in public life and young people, particularly girls in schools, is a serious concern. I would commend to him the book The Burning by Laura Bates. It's a brilliant book that draws on Laura's own experience of talking to students in schools and a young woman who's forced to move school and country because of the vitriolic abuse she faces online. The Secretary of State talks of a national media literacy strategy. This is welcome. I'm sure he's aware of the SNP-led government's child safety internet plan, and I hope he will coordinate and work closely with the government in Scotland and across the devolved nations. Finally, Mr Speaker, it's absolutely imperative that any new regulation or legislation addresses the funding of political advertising online. The illegality of the Leave campaign is a dark stain on our democracy, and we must ensure our democracy is not interfered with or damaged any further. We must get this right. For the sake of the family of Molly Russell and the victims of Christchurch, we must work together across this House to make sure that social media companies and tech companies are properly held to account.